Hello everyone and welcome to Cities Skylines, where we get to try to continue work here on our first small town on our wonderful custom map. And what I'm doing is working on the area between the kind of downtown-esque main street over by the church and this farmland that we started here not too long ago. And in between this area, I figured it would be cool to have our elementary school and our high school. Now, I'm from a small town, and the interesting thing to me about, I guess that, and when I talk to other people who are either from small towns or what they think are small towns, is I didn't have a middle school, and so I'm not going to be making one in this town. In essence, this one's actually going to end up having about 3,000-ish people, I think, living in here. And, you know, when I grew up, we really only had the elementary school, and then a block away we had a high school. And it was pretty much servicing everything, and even a little bit to the next town over. So, you know, that's why we're not going to have multiple schools. It just doesn't make sense. And I hope you guys enjoy the looks of what we have here. I'm using a little bit of a park, kind of Rycoed in and moved into the elementary school just to give them a playground. The high school, they can actually probably walk if they are allowed to have open lunch. Back in the day when I was in school, we were actually allowed to leave campus for lunch after a certain grade, and you know, they could go to the track and field, or maybe they could walk a few blocks over to the main street, either eat there or go to the park, maybe play some basketball in that area as well. So beyond just the school, we need to start increasing our population. You can see we're sitting at 161, and since I enabled all these buildings to be Rycoed, they only, you know, have one household in them each. So we're going to be hand placing a lot of homes, trying to get these town kind of city blocks laid out in a good fashion. We're going to start and mix in smaller homes, and then get bigger into certain sections, and then other areas where we might have some apartment buildings, like low-end apartment buildings. When, you know, you might find them to be like these little 2-story type structures. And at that point, we'll be able to just increase the population at a good rate. And we're going to need plenty of parking for the high school out back. In fact, I don't think there's really quite enough, but you know, for the room that we have, I think this is okay. And generally with small towns, you know, a lot of people will end up just walking to school. You know, there's no real sense in driving if you live 3 blocks away from the school itself, unless you plan on maybe taking a trip at lunch and leaving campus. But there's still also, you know, parking here on the other side of the track and field. Now, I'm sure some people could park there as well. So we're gonna have, you know, more neighborhoods, and we're gonna space these out. I'm trying to get as much kind of little variety as possible, and we'll also try to get some of these homes away from the curb, because right now, that's the thing with Cities Skylines. I don't think they generally give the good representation of having a front yard, because a lot of these places should have one. So we'll end up probably moving a lot of these buildings back about 1 tile worth, and that kind of gives us a front yard kind of look. We're also going to have a few cul-de-sacs, dead ends areas, where we might have some either higher middle class type homes, and you know, we'll get some cul-de-sacs built, and then some might be expanded upon. That's why we have that one kind of turning off to a side, and try and get some slightly larger homes. We're not really doing anything tall. These are, you know, single-story, 2-story homes. Nothing crazy impressive. Though a few of them are really nice looking. If you think about it, like that one in the middle with that pool there, it does look pretty good. Now, another thing that you'll notice is that we don't have a lot of trees, and also I'm still using the default trees that are in the game, and eventually you'll see that change because I am using the mod Tree Replacer. What that lets you do is open up a text file, and you can actually assign trees to look like different trees that you have installed. So we end up kind of changing that here soon. And you know, the default trees just aren't very good in my opinion. They're too vibrant, and they also have a little bit of a lighting glitch in my save. I don't know if other people have that issue, but I definitely do. I was thinking about adding like some maybe back alleyways here in these areas, trying my hand at that. I need to probably find some gravel textures. Something a little bit more handmade would probably be better here. And you know, right now, you know, just trying to work with the default gravel is just not looking very good. I even tried putting, you know, road wear over top of that to make it possibly look like gravel, and it just wasn't gonna work. I even, you know, somewhat thought about using concrete here to make some type of path, but just decided against it in general. I just don't think it would have turned out the way I wanted, so just skipping that. Just making sure these buildings are spaced out now. Just, you know, going through one final time, making sure they are in a more interesting format and they stagger how deep they are on the plots of lands that they sit. I think that's kind of a super important thing. And the Move It tool really helps with this. It's basically the most important mod, I think, that has come out in a long time for Cities Skylines. So, you know, if you guys don't use Move It or don't know what it is essentially you can select a building and move it to any orientation beyond where it currently lies. You can also relay roads in certain angles and things. So all these neighborhoods, all these little homes getting placed, and then we'll have to go back in, really start lushing out and placing a whole bunch of trees. Now, the happiness kind of dropped for a bit, so I had to kind of put a pavilion in a small park near the school. And we are using our live oak tree here, which is, you know, I kind of want to put it sparsely through the town. And then we'll have to go back in with some smaller elements to kind of just hug the short walls and other green spaces that are left over from like parking lots. And I think this is a good kind of method to do when you are working, I guess, with so much concrete. You know, you want to have some areas where greenery is either retaking some of that due to either lack of maintenance, or you want some greenery just to be there to help break up the whole giant gray blob that is now half the town. And it's a little surprising for me. I am a little shocked of how much there is concrete just everywhere. You know, I was expecting to see a lot more open green spaces, but right now, if you zoom out on the map, you know, there's just a lot of gray, and I didn't really expect that. And you know, I don't know how accurate that is of a small town, but for me, it was a little bit of a shocker. So we're gonna have some fields. We're gonna kind of wall in the elementary school just so those pesky kids can't escape their playground. We're also going to keep putting in bushes and trees and fence in a whole bunch of yards. Now, I did download some more wooden fence kind of assets just because I think they were a little bit more important to have. We have a lot of industrial fences right now, and we didn't really have the kind of common fence that you might see in a small town such as this. So that's what we're doing now. Some of these homes won't have fences. You know, that's not every home needs a fence, but a lot of them will, just so that there is some sort of visual line dividing up the properties from afar, and you can kind of get a feel for you know, how big these areas can be. And you also want to leave some fields in between some of these homes. I do remember, you know, this is where the pickup games of like football happen, or the pickup games of baseball. You know, you can ride your bikes. So, you know, having some nice greenery space just for open play areas, frisbee, things like that are always nice to have. And of course, we'll have to roughen up the concrete through the parking lot. Parking lots do always take a beating. You know, it's one of those day-to-day things that we all kind of use, but never really pay much attention to in terms of how well they're maintained, unless they're really affecting our day. But you know, they get a lot of wear and tear, especially just on the day-to-day grind. Wall off that park there, and just keep placing. We occasionally use some white picket fence just to, you know, the American dream. And go back in by this gas station and fire station. Go in, you know, make this field look a little bit more dirty and like an empty lot that at one time could have housed a home, but due to the commercial expanse that it was probably removed, and then it became a little bit of an awkward shape, and now it's just a empty lot. And those are kind of things you have to not really necessarily consider, but those are story elements that maybe at a later time you can kind of use just to justify why things are built in certain ways. At least that's what I try and do. Here, just some boxes. We'll put in some vans and things. Now, all these parking spots are actually functional, so I'm not gonna, you know, overload them with cars. I might end up doing that in the high school area a little bit, just a little. But in general, these can be used. So I'm expecting as our population grows to about 2 to 3 times more than it is now, it will become I guess a lot more of a necessity to have some parking spots, because I'm going to end up probably outlawing roadside parking in a lot of areas, especially areas where the roads aren't really wide. Like this is a normal 2-lane road, so they can park there just fine. Or maybe on the unmarked roads, they can park on the side, but not on the 2 lanes. I think that would be an interesting thing to try and do. I do like the little kind of lunch area there behind the school, and we can add a few sheds. We can also spend a lot of time looking for assets, because I have downloaded so many that it becomes a little bit of a chore to try and figure out what you're trying to find. And low-lying walls, just to try and edge and clean up the general perimeter of the high school. You can also add some greenery spots and some planters just to try and make the whole thing look a little bit nicer than it is now, and some small pine trees, which are always good because this is an alpine-esque area. So, you know, pines are going to be super important for the overall look and feel, but you do want your tree variety through there just because of the color changes, like between the oak and, is that a birch tree? It might be a birch tree. And, you know, just the leaf colors and things. Here we are doing a little bit of a wall dividing the main entrance into town from the more homes, and we are going to do something a little bit interesting. We're going to carve out 3 long wall sections, and then every 3 will have this little dip, and in there we can put some, you know, some different trees, some different bushes, and other details to try and just spruce up the main street a little bit. That way it doesn't feel quite as enclosed and have that wall right there on the sidewalk. You have some areas of relief to kind of rest your eyes on. We're also going to give these guys some pretty big yards if you take a look at those. And I think those are pretty nice to have. We can also end up throwing some pools in there. And I did download some more pool assets. The train was apparently not flat there, making the fence look a little weird. And, you know, we will align some of these, you know, fences with bushes, depending on how, you know, private some people might want their yard. And you can see the custom pools do look much better than the default ones that are in the game. Though I kind of wish they didn't have this brown, you know, dirt texture whenever you place them. In fact, even with the homes, that might be something I want to look into, see if there's a mod to completely remove that texture. I'm fine with it on the roads, just not on buildings and things, because people generally, especially close to their house, will keep their yard a little bit more neat. So this is it for the speed build today. Let's go ahead and take a look at it in real time. Okay, so here we are taking a look at everything in real time. This is the first kind of major suburb area of the town. You can see a lot of the homes back there, and we get traffic on the street now, which is pretty amazing. We are just basically panning over the main street and approaching the track and field. We have a little bit of a public pool as well right there, and they do share kind of the same parking lot. And the occasional house kind of stuck in between facilities. Maybe they didn't want to sell. Who knows? We got the high school here, which is a nice custom asset. And we get a low-lying wall, some pine trees poking up through some planters there, and there's a nice shot of the church as well. And then to the right of the high school, we have two small homes in this awkwardly shaped plot there, and then our elementary school, which is this more yellow building in this section here. And you even get your final little bit of housing here. Now this is kind of a major industrial road, so you're not going to find a lot of homes along here, I don't think. And especially since it's so close to the train station, there's a lot of noise coming from this area in general. So, you know, you want to try and keep your homes kind of separated from that, or at least buffered with a whole bunch of trees, maybe a sound barrier wall of some kind. Other than that, here's just some more shots of this small community park back here. People are getting use out of it, which is good. And I think probably my favorite thing about having so many trees and a lot of green spaces that we're forming kind of along the streets is that you get good shots of this. You know, this very much looks like a nice average town. But it's very surprising to me just driving here in the city, and a block away there's a nice little, they're almost like a bunch of cottages, kind of old 50s styles homes back there, and it's amazing how many trees and things are in those areas. So I'm trying to capture that look a little bit, and it does look a little overgrown, but I'm okay with that here currently. So what we're gonna do for the next episode of Cities Skylines, if you take a look, we're gonna zoom out a little bit. You can kind of notice all of this concrete here. It's really surprising. I'm a little disappointed at all the concrete. I might have to tone it down a little bit in areas if you guys want, but if you guys like the look of it, then we might end up keeping it there. It might just be a personal thing. So we're gonna essentially on the other side of the park, kind of across from the church, we're going to make a small city hall. Nothing huge by any means. Like it's basically going to be a community center in terms of size. It's not going to be like a state house by any means. And then we just need to try and fill in basically along the edge of the cliff all the suburbs that are going to be very much like this. And then this town will basically be complete. I do want to have some farm homes out here. I did leave this plot empty. I think we can fit 2 here, 1 or 2 here, maybe 1 here, maybe 1 there. You know, I just want some sparse homes towards the farms in general. I think that will look nice. And then I might end up, you know, just making sure all the greenery blends in together. And then this town will be completely done. So from that point, I do want to talk about what we want to work on next. Now, we have a couple options. Either I can make another small connecting town, just jump straight into a new one, or we can move into a power plant of some kind that's going to be providing a lot of the power to the whole region. And I don't quite know where I might want that. If we zoom out a little bit here, I could put it here just on this shelf, this cliff shelf. We could also maybe put it on this side, or really anywhere. Our map is huge, guys, so there's still so much room to try and fill out that I hope you're pretty excited to see it all. But this town is just coming together, and I'm just really liking the looks of it. I hope you guys are as well. So if you guys enjoyed the episode, feel free to subscribe to my channel for more creative goodness such as this. Go ahead and hit that like button. Leave a comment down below on what you think and what you might want to see built in a town, or if you have any ideas or suggestions. These builds are as much yours as it is mine. This community is why I do these kind of things. So until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.